Hi, everybody. I'm excited to be on Clubhouse. If you're watching the video, you can see Jorge Zavala, who's joined me on Clubhouse. Dr. Laura is coming and supporting, even though she has other things going on, which I'm very excited about. Very excited about her joining us. And the general thoughts are for this room. It's a safe place, safe environment. It's part of the Credibility Nation location on Clubhouse, and in this particular room, it's leaders living their values. And I had a lot of really cool things happen this week, which I'll share and have topics we can talk about. And first, though, Jorge, I would love it if you want to say hello and introduce yourself. Oh, I am not here. You have to unmute on Clubhouse.
Okay, I am here, Jorge Zavala. I am here in Silicon Valley. I've been involved in how to create companies and develop the minimum viable mindset, among other things in the life. And ready to have this conversation, how really increase the credibility that is in everybody.
It's interesting, and Dr. Laura, if you're interested, would love to have you say hello as well.
Sure. Hey, everybody. This is Laura. Super happy to be here, and I'm excited about this topic. In fact, Mitchell, I am finishing a chapter in a book on women in business, and the title of it is "The Courage of Vulnerability." Ooh. I was going to send you some paragraphs of it because I just thought it was so interesting because I'm integrating all this stuff that you're presenting to us regarding integrity and values and ethics and morals and courage and brave leaders and how it really just resonated with me this past week about how relevant this topic is and how important it is when we consider who do we look up to as a leader and are they brave and do they have courage and are they vulnerable? So I was thinking of you this week.
Oh,
that's about it. It's Laura.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'll send it to you in WhatsApp.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So Mitchell Levy, global credibility expert. What got me on a path, and I was just on a path to support people, be of service. I've done many different things. One of the, I sat on the board of a NASDAQ firm for 9 years. I've created executive business programs, conferences, 20 companies. And what was interesting though is after interviewing 500 thought leaders on credibility, is probably about somewhere in between 450 and 475. I've got this life mission. And it was the recognition that we've been taught so many, and I call the opposite of credible dubious, so many dubious things, so many things that aren't really they're things that we do, they're commonly accepted practices, but they aren't, if you think about the world of whether or not they're credible in terms of they're adding value or not to others, in many cases, they're not. And so that is my focus. It's to help us all see the world from a point of view that allows us to feel good about who we are in terms of were we probably the couple of the 10 values of credibility. Were we servant leaders? Did we add value? Are we coachable? Did we do the right things? And so it's really fascinating to me what we've done and where we as society has gone. And one of the things that I do, and by the way, for those who are here, Manu, thanks for coming, and others who are in the room. If you want to share, if you'd like to join stage, just either raise your hand or speak in chat and we'll add you. I'm going to start the conversation by sharing something that I do weekly. And actually, Laura, I need to make you moderator. I yell at this thing all the time. I'll do the same for you, Jorge. We'll make you moderators so you could check on other people. What's interesting to me is if you wanted to, Laura, now that you're moderator, if you want to pin the YouTube channel for Credibility Nation in the chat, it's youtube.com/Credibility Nation. And one of the things I do weekly is I actually record a 10-minute show, and it's called Dear Credibility Expert. So I'll make a call out to you and anyone else here. Dear Credibility Expert is when I answer one credibility question in 10 minutes. And I actually want to bring the question up because what I've been doing, and this has been kind of fun. I've been going live on Fridays. I've been reading the question, and then what happens? I answer it, and then at some point in time, my team does magic on it, cleans it up, makes it clean, puts in B-roll, does all this funny stuff to it, and then we put it out on YouTube. And so there's 50 plus answers to questions. I think of it as like that Dear Abby, so Dear Credibility Expert. And the question that was asked, so one thing, if you want your question answered, my suggestion is send me a video recording, just a quick video clip of you asking the question. And then what my team will do is include your video clip in the question, asking the question up front. This particular week, though, was one where I had to go back to not making the person's name, because the question was, what do you do when you're working for a boss who's known to not have integrity? So what are you doing when you're working for a boss who's known not to have integrity? And I have to say, for me personally, this is one of those interesting things. And what I do when I do the recordings is I give a little bit of thought to it, and then I turn on live and I just speak. And often some insight happens. And I did share some ideas, but I'm going to give you fundamentally what I thought about. And Jorge, I'll jump to you first because I'd love to hear your feedback. What I thought about originally was the simple is, one, if the person doesn't have integrity with you directly, right, then the easy thing is when you meet with a person, you take notes, and after the meeting, then you send an email saying, hey, here's what we talked about. Do you agree? Okay. If your boss doesn't have integrity with the customers, that to me is a big problem, because that is a place where you could lose business. So that's something that you actually have to address. But fundamentally, what struck me as really difficult was, I think we should all be doing what we love. I mean, work should not be a bad four-letter word. Work should be play. And if you play at work, that means you get to play, hopefully, at everything you do. And what I realized, if you had a boss who was known not to have integrity, it's kind of hard to have work be play. And for me, I didn't realize I was going to do this, but by the time I was done with the 10-minute response, I realized that the summarized answer is, hey, you could keep track of your boss to make sure they stay of integrity with you. But if you want to be of integrity with yourself in life, it's time for you to leave and find something else to do. And I didn't expect that to be my answer. What do you think, Jorge?
Well, that situation is very complicated because it's not a very pleasant kind of situation. You are playing a double sword in some way, because you need to face people that maybe get angry, disappointed about that situation, because at the beginning you don't know how is going to be the behavior of that person. And when you learn about that situation, you are playing with two balls at the same time. How you make the people happy and get what they need to get, despite that the position of the boss. Because the boss is going to always say whatever he wants to say to convince him that he's doing the right thing. And when the other side discover that he says something and do something else, that start to generate a lot of very uncomfortable situation. because and me as a person being in the middle of that really is, or you take the position of your boss and you lost your integrity and your credibility, or you keep that very strong and very polite, try to convince the people that don't worry about that and focus into the what's important in a way that you keep your credibility and your position to the right position. But I don't really like to be in that sense, and I really would like to invite the people in the audience to give us their own answer about that, because that's a situation that I guess we face it a lot of times in life, despite that we don't want it.
I agree. Farouk, Sarah, Manu, Byron, if you guys want to comment on this, I'd love to. Let me know and we'll promote you to speaker. Yeah, this one's really tough. And I think when I was working for corporate, I left corporate in 97, 1997, like forever ago. But when
long time ago,
a couple years ago, and when I was working for corporate, I didn't realize that I wasn't truly my authentic self. I thought I was always authentic, but I always gave the answer that my boss, what I thought the boss would want to hear. And so subsequently, I'm not convinced. I did actually. I was in one situation. My first boss out of school didn't have integrity, and I subsequently left. But it didn't teach me. It was very interesting. I'm not sure I lived. It took me a long time to get over those lessons. That value system that he shared. Yeah, it's interesting. It's really interesting.
Yeah, but it's interesting, but it's very complicated. I believe it that very much into corporates provide sometimes that it's amazing. The leadership need to build some way of a story. Then sometimes you try to make it from a dream and try to push that, and the boundary where is integrity and where is not integrity sometimes is very, very blur, because you try to convince people then for adoption of a new product, and you gave them in the good lead, in the good faith, some ideas, then you start to face it that is not very well supported, and that not support is part of the where you lost integrity in some way.
Yeah, it's interesting. And hey, Frank, I'll say hi in a minute. I just had a thought I wanted to share. What's interesting to me is and I'll just share some ways that bosses actually are not of integrity. If you're credible, you're a servant leader. You're of service to others. If you're of service to others, you're of service to the people who work for you. As a leader, if you take credit for the stuff that your people do, you do not have integrity. You are not, unless this is a conscious thing that you talk about, that there has to be, and there may be reasons why it makes sense, but the boss taking your ideas and running with it and taking credit for it is almost as bad, not quite as bad as fake it till you make it. That I've never liked that expression, but the boss taking credit for you, that is so out of integrity in terms of building and being of service to others. Yeah. So, hey, Frank, welcome. Good to see you here. Are you okay to go live? Yep, I can hear you now. Well, I heard you for a second. Up, you're gone. Yeah, up, you're back. I can almost hear you. Your mic's okay, but it's a little bit on the low side. So if when you play with that on the background a little bit and let us know when you're back. Yeah, it's interesting. Dr. Laura, what do you think about this?
Which part? If someone takes your ideas, or
Well,
someone takes your
I was going to say, just sort of working for a boss that doesn't have integrity. Wherever you want to take it, I'm really open.
Oh, there's no way that I could. I mean, that would be very difficult for me to even attempt to stay there. I mean, I can't. I just, it would be like, ugh, get off me. I can't imagine that happening. I mean, I'm sure I'd have to, but wouldn't want to. I think the thing that comes up for me the most is that if it's happening with me, then it's happening with others. And why? When does this happen before? And it's certainly going to happen again. It's a marker of abuse and abuse of power.
Yeah. Oh, well said.
It's a subtle. It can be subtle. It can be overt. It can completely be manipulative, and it can be just a subtle underpinning of the. I mean, depending on the organization and the business, it could be indicative of the culture. It could be indicative of the individual. And even if it's a boss or not, if it's a colleague, or even if it's not a colleague, I don't like this word very much. It's just subordinate and military. If that's allowed and it's perpetuated, what's to say if it's a business? What happens at home with the individual? You never know what goes on behind closed doors. There's so many levels to this excellent question, which I love it.
Oh, I know. I'm so glad. So this was a day ago that I answered this question, and I often find that I get a download when I'm doing the answer, when I'm answering for Dear Credibility Expert. I get a download, and when I was done and I summarized, I realized there was not enough, that I don't think I was even strong enough. And now that I'm thinking about and hearing it more, and I've let 24 hours pass, I'm thinking I don't want to ever allow myself to A, work for somebody who doesn't have integrity. But B, I don't have people who, if you don't have integrity, you're not really part of my circle. You're not in my life. I mean, it's that overarching thing about what is credible. I mean, there's some areas of being dubious, dubious being the opposite of credible. There's some areas of being dubious that is okay. The real thing that happens is, if you're dubious and someone tells you you're being dubious, do you continue to be dubious? And those people who don't have the integrity to fix themselves after being told that they're being dubious, those are the people that I weed out of my existence.
What if it impacts your potential quality of life, meaning your livelihood?
Yeah, I know.
I'm not saying I agree with it. It's just such a difficult thing. I mean, the economy even now. What if it but I don't know. Can you? This is rhetorical. Can you stay in a position? Can you live with yourself without getting that slime off?
Dr. Laura, that's what I was. So the answer. It's a very interesting question. I appreciate you taking on that rhetorical side. Like, if what the person does is so horrible, then no, you got to kind of leave immediately. Like, horrible, let's say against the law or violating the fundamental sanctum of who you are. But then what if it's just minor, right? This is the question. What happens if your boss is the place where, your boss represents the place that they today are your financial sponsor, right? They are the primary amount of revenue coming in the door. And you realize that you're associated with a place that feels a little uncomfortable to you. Maybe it's not a lot uncomfortable, but maybe it just feels just a little uncomfortable because they're not living up to their values. They're not living up to their word. First I'd say, well, can you fix it? Is there something you could do to help fix that situation? Can you approach them directly? Are there ways to follow through? For me, one of the things that I said when I had that download yesterday, sometimes people are not in integrity because they've just got so much going on they forget, right? And so what I thought was, well, if you're sitting with somebody and they make promises, it's your job to document those promises, send them over email, and say, by the way, do you remember you said this, or can we confirm our conversation? Here's what we said. Okay, and I think that works. But the question becomes, when is it the time that you go to their boss? Right? When is the time you decide it's time to leave? And anyhow, that's really it's kind of fascinating to me. So Manu, nicest. Jorge, give me a second. Manu just came on. Manu, do you want to introduce yourself and add your 2 cents? Now you want to do that on, I see you as our speaker on Clubhouse. So why don't you unmute yourself? Here, well, let me share with the audience while Manu's figuring out the technology stuff. And Manu, I definitely want to have you when you can figure out how to unmute your. So this is what we're doing. The volume that you're hearing from other people is coming from my iPad. And so this is where we're on Clubhouse. Mark Jarrett is in the house. And so Manu, if you can figure out how to get the mic working, would love to hear from you. Jorge, you had something to say, so please share.
Well, I want to split the question that you say into 2 points, because is that the level of integrity, and from the point of view you were describing in the bad sense of some people that try to do something that is not right. But in the other side, I really got into the questions when you say fake until you make it. That's a very valuable thing, because sometimes as a leader you need to believe in something that is not yet done. That it could be perceived as a lack of integrity, or could be the very strong position to make it that happens. And that is very interesting. How you behave in that sense is people that are always trying to go further and push things, they try to do fake it until they make it. And appears to be is a lack of integrity. That in some sense, and that is very, very, very complex situation. I was discussing that with some friends this week. There was a person that I have the feeling that is a non-integrity guy, and some other people perceive them as a fake until they make it. And that is a perception point of view that I guess, and some of these people that were working in that situation, in me, is very lack of integrity. I know them, and I know that they are going to say whatever is needed, but at the very end, they achieve what they want to do. And not necessarily is something that I appreciate that was an achiever, because he was doing things that are very, very dubious.
So by the way, before we start, for those who are in Clubhouse, let us know if you want to be moved to speaker. Would love to have you speak. Mark Jarrett, I see you in the StreamYard rating room. I want to promote your video if it's okay. However, the sound actually comes from Clubhouse. So I need to see you in Clubhouse too, so I can put you out there. I was just preparing myself to sort of explode. Are you ready for my explosion, Jorge? Can I share? Do you mind?
Yeah, go ahead.
Fake it till you make it is the stupidest thing anyone ever invented, and you should not do that. How about that? Was that a good explosion? Let me do a definition of what fake it till you make it means and how you can do what you said without faking it. Faking it till you make it says, my understanding is that you pretend that you're smart. You pretend that you know exactly what's going on and you know the answer. And regardless of whether or not you do or not, you pretend that you're an expert in the space. And oh, hey, Mark, you wanna mute the StreamYard?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Manu, we can hear you. Let me finish my thought, and then we'll have you speak, and then we'll have Mark Jarrett come on. So the thing with faking it till you make it is, to me, you're not being authentic. You're not having integrity with yourself and others. I would say the most important thing, Jorge, to talk about in those areas is to be vulnerable enough to say, we haven't done this before. We don't know if we're going to be super successful. Oh, Manu, can you mute yourself until you speak? Because thank you. If we say we don't know enough, and then we do, and this is also credible, we say we have the intent and commitment to be of service and do the best we can. We just haven't done this before. That's not faking it till you're making it. That's essentially coming in as a credible person with integrity and authenticity. And so I want you to take that phrase, fake it till you make it, and either burn it or put it to the side and recognize if you are faking it till you're making it, you are not being, in many cases, you're being dubious. And notice I said many cases because there's probably a caveat there. All right, Manu, why don't you unmute yourself? Because I'm sure there's an opinion you have.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that a lot of people, as you said, fake it till they make it. It's kind of their own insecurity and the way that the world is set up, that they don't want to show their weaknesses. But I believe is that, as you just pointed out, if we are open and vulnerable and admit to our shortcomings, it actually creates more credibility, because that shows courage. That shows that we can face ourselves and we can show other people who we are. At the same time, we all have gifts and our skills that we bring to the table, and most people think whatever they have is not enough, and that's why they sort of try to fake things and build up fake credibility and live outside of their integrity. And I think that's fear. Insecurity is the root cause, and if we can help people address that, then this problem sort of starts to go away and we can connect with each other authentically.
I love that. Thank you. Do you want to introduce yourself since you grabbed the stage just for a second?
Yeah, my name is Manoj Agarwal, and I'm one of the leading experts in the field of artificial intelligence. I work with a lot of tech entrepreneurs. So I've been in the technology space for about 30 years, work with clients like Microsoft, IBM, Pearson Education, ING Bank. I have a podcast called Bootstrapping Your Dreams. It's one of the top-rated podcasts. And I'm also the community leader for Startup Vancouver, which is a community of about 2,500 startups.
Nice. Thank you, sir. I'm going to read one comment from the chat, and then we'll bring Mark Jarrett to stage. Actually, stage, you're really on stage too because you're on video. Chris Price, thank you for saying dubious is a great word for the opposite of credible. Thank you. And I'll just tell you where it came from so you could think about it. I was looking for when I created the phrase or the physical place Credibility Nation, I knew I needed a arch rival, right? Because every movement has an arch rival. And I didn't want a real person, place, or thing. And so I was looking for an arch rival that was potentially the opposite of credible, but wasn't by definition automatically horrible, automatically bad. Because I actually am of the feeling that you can be dubious, but you could be partially dubious and it's not bad. It's not like heaven or hell, black or white, or in the US, red or blue, right or wrong. There are times in which we're dubious and we don't know better. Like if I did something really bad and Jorge said, "Hey, Mitchell, you did this. This was really bad. I didn't like it." And if I then heard it and accommodated and said, "Hey, listen, I'm sorry. I was dubious. Let me fix it." And then I fixed it. I'm not necessarily a bad person because I acted dubiously. I just it was an accident, or I didn't know better, or I didn't realize another person's point of view. Right. So that's where dubious came from. Mark, welcome. Nice to see you. For those on Clubhouse, we're also streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook twice. We could actually do Facebook twice. And Mark Jarrett's on video. Good to see you, buddy. How are you?
Warm.
What's the temperature there? Are you going to give it to me in Celsius, aren't you?
So Monday is going to be the hottest day on record in the UK. We're going to hit 40.
Wow.
But right now it's about 32, something like that.
No, for us in the US, I'm going to be doing a conversion of Celsius to Fahrenheit.
That's around 105 or so Fahrenheit. That's crazy.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. Hey, Mark, do you want to do a quick intro to yourself and then add to the conversation?
Sure. Hi everyone. My name's Mark Jarrett, and I'm a professional networker who lives in Horsham, which is between London and Brighton in the south of England. I operate 240 WhatsApp groups. Each WhatsApp group has got its own theme. So that might be biotech or construction, automotive, powerful women, various countries, and various social themes as well. And I use WhatsApp to connect people. And you were talking about integrity. There's a magazine called Integrity, and I'm honoured to be featured in its centre spread. So that recently won an award as Magazine of the Year, and I was recently awarded Networker of the Year. So it's all good. I just love connecting people, and you're all invited to all of my WhatsApp groups.
I appreciate that, and I will definitely take advantage. Could you do me a favor? What does "fake it till you make it" mean to you? You love it, hate it, bothered by it? What do you think?
I'm living it.
Faking it till you make it? Really?
Yes.
Yeah. So, because I fake it till you make it's like the worst expression of the world. So, for some odd reason, I wouldn't have invited you onto this stage if I thought you were completely dubious.
It's actually my wife that gave me that advice a couple of years ago. Mindful of what you've just told me, I will reprimand her.
No, don't. No, if you don't mind, I'll share a little bit. My guess is she heard it in a way. If she's married to you, she's probably a really good woman. And my thought is she heard it in a way that it felt like the right thing, and it's something that she needed to say to you because maybe it's what you needed at the time. The problem I have with the "fake it till you make it," that concept, is that when you're in front of a person, the most important thing is to be your transparent self. You need to have integrity and authenticity.
I just remembered now. I was going through quite a tough time in my head, and there was an event, and she suggested I go and fake it until I make it. In other words, just be a powerful guy when I was there and not be down. I think that's what she meant.
Yeah. And I want to think, by the way, for those who are watching, listening, either live or later, I'd like to come up with something that's that's a better phrase than fake it till you make it. Maybe if we could somehow make it be vulnerable. it's the thing that pops into my head. Just be vulnerable I like that so much better.
In my WhatsApp groups, I encourage an ethos called ORS, which is open, random, and supportive.
Ooh.
So it's the antithesis of corporate thinking. I encourage people who have experienced trauma in their life to share it because it keeps things real. And I'm finding that people that do experience trauma in their life often come out stronger the other side for it. Pressure creates diamonds, Mitchell.
Now that I agree with. All right. So, but if we could think about a better phrase for, I like the ORS acronym. If we could think about a better phrase to fake it till you make it. Let me do a reset and then we'll bring David to the stage. We're in Clubhouse, in the Clubhouse room that's focused on leaders living their values. The particular club is Credibility Nation. And you're more than welcome if you're seeing this and want to join us next week. Join us now, reach out. We do stream live. So if you want to let me know, that link I will share with you privately. And if you want to go to Clubhouse, you could find the Credibility Nation in this room happening now. And it's really about, I think what we're going to bring every week, as I've been thinking through this, is just what are some things I've run across. And Mark, I will be thinking about you, and we'll have another conversation during the week. Been thinking about you because I love what that phrase did for you then, and excited about you. And so many people think fake it till you make it is great. It's just, for me, it's now the representation of the opposite of credible, right? So
the very phrase itself suggests lack of authenticity because you're faking, and that goes against your ethos.
Yeah. Hello, David. How are you? Thanks, Mark. Thanks so much.
Hey, Mitchell. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. Hey, you want to do a quick intro to yourself and then comment what you're hearing?
Okay, I'm over in the state of New Hampshire, northeastern United States, and see, my background is in science. I'm kind of pivoting towards data analysis. I'm 59 years old. You can read the rest of my profile, I guess.
Okay, we'll do that.
I've been on Clubhouse now for about a year. I followed Dr. Laura, was the first person I followed or who followed me, and it's been uphill ever since. She's up to 10,000 followers. I'm up to 243 or so. Yeah. Anyway,
she's amazing.
Regarding the topic, which I think is kind of interesting, I think we are as good as the skills and traits that we have. And the skills, like if you're applying for a job, whatever pay level, volunteer to high up, your resume will hopefully showcase your skills best you can. And if it does a good job of that, and it's somewhat close to what's being asked for, then you'll get to be interviewed with 5 or 6 other people. You can't fake from application to interview. Once you're in an interview, it's not a matter of faking things because they're going to find you out, I would think, until you can get enough experience to be actually what you say you are. But yeah, I think it's a matter of being true to ourselves. And I struggle with this sometimes, believing that I'm because on paper I look pretty good, and I'd like to think I'm pretty good. But it seems that the employer or whoever I'm applying to often seems to want more. Well, it's like it's never enough. So I'll keep getting more courses and more skills and more practice in this, that, and the other, hoping that eventually I'll be up to where I need to be. Although now I'm already 59 years old, so time's kind of getting thin here. But the danger of faking it till you make it is, at first you're pretending to be at a higher skill level than you actually are, and hoping that you can get over the hump and kind of get in the game. But at that point, if you get a few weeks or months of experience under your belt, you'll be able to get up to where you need to be. But the problem there, I think, is that they could see through that. You might not be able to get to where you need to be if you aren't already when they take you. Or if they find out, and this will be even a worse situation, if you weren't fully honest on the resume, that could result in your being canned pretty quick. I don't know exactly where that phrase came from. Probably there's some connotation where it's positive, but I tend to agree with Mitchell that fake it till you make it is not the best way to go. I think if we can be true to ourselves, to what we believe, to what we're good at, to what we're not so good at, and work on that the best we can, that's probably the best way to go.
David, thank you. Thank you for that. So interesting. As I'm reading the chat of Chris Price in LinkedIn, you got me thinking about some C words. The C word he used, he goes, "Oh, and David, could you could you mute yourself just for a second?" And Reem, if we'll bring you on next if you're interested. So the thing that the C word Chris used was confident. Right? He said, "Be your most confident yet real self, even when you don't feel particularly confident." And what I'm going to say, I like that C word. Let me give you two others that I particularly. So by the way, I'm a big fan of having clarity. Right. So that's probably the thing I do most is helping people have clarity through what I call a CPOP, their customer point of possibilities, that 3-second elevator pitch. To be credible, right? But the other two C words I want to share is curiosity and courage. Because I think the thing that's interesting to me, David, listening to you, I would much rather hire somebody who's curious and have confidence and commitment to do the right thing and have the courage to do the right thing even when other people say don't, than somebody who looks good on paper. I'm going to hire based on what they can do for me, based on who they are and what's in their belly, the fire in their belly, the thing in their heart, versus hiring based on, hey, they've done it before in these sort of areas, but they're now no longer excited about it. That's interesting.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, thanks. Sometimes stuff comes out of my mouth and I go, man, I got to write that down. Good thing it's recorded.
Thing is, confidence and clarity isn't so easily achieved as you might think it would be.
No.
I know it's what we need, but it's easier said than done.
So clarity, I'm going to do a teeny plug if you guys don't mind. For those who are interested, we do have a membership community called Credibility Nation. I have a course in there that can help you bring clarity on who you are and how you serve. It is essentially how you could present yourself, your CPOP, in 10 words or less. My CPOP, the clients typically attracted to me, leaders living their values and making a difference. And I've done this 1,000 times with individuals, and it is so amazing when people can actually just be themselves, and can articulate who they are in a second or less. So clarity and confidence is, I think clarity is something. So there's a course, go to Credibility Nation. There's a course you could take. On confidence, it's being confident in yourself, not necessarily in your ability to want to be of service. I'm going to spend more time thinking about that. Confidence turns out to be a really good word to think about. Maybe Reem, do you want to say hello? Are I got you here as a speaker. You open to come on, open the mic and say hello. Oh, bummer. I see you, but I'm not hearing you.
She has the phone turned on, but it's not listening.
Hey, Reem, you're always welcome to come and join us. Your contribution in the chat last week impressed me so much that I'd love to hear your opinion. And anyone else that's in the audience, whether it's on one of the social media where we're streaming or in the Clubhouse audience, if you want to speak, please raise your hand. Let us know. Would love to hear from you. I'm going to go back to Dr. Laura. What do you think about this confidence thing?
Competence or confidence?
Oh, confidence.
Well, I always think that song from Julie Andrews and the Sound of Music that always comes to mind. I'm not kidding. I don't think you want me to belt out. I have confidence.
I do.
I have confidence in sunshine. I have confidence in rain. I have confidence that spring will come again. Besides what you see, I have confidence in me. And I'm not a great singer, and that's okay.
I love that.
Enough to say it's the meaning and intent.
Thank you.
Substance, not necessarily style. My point is that I have confidence that I know a little bit about a lot and a lot about a very little bit. And I don't even like to hang out with people who consider fake. So why would I want to come off like that? I'd rather be a truthful, curious learner than a fake, wannabe know-it-all who has nothing to learn. I don't know. I just sit there and I'm making it very simplistic. I don't mean to, I don't mean to. My intention is to present those as two diametrically opposed, just so there's clarification and distinct differentiation. But I know that that's not the case. In real life. I suppose my confidence is that I know what other people might think is that what a screw up is. It's not a screw up. I know that I'm going to fail first attempt in learning according to others' expectations, not my problem. If someone expects something of me and I don't meet that, that's their expectations. They put that up. And I'd rather be like Rocky and fail and get up than quit and tap out. Not even part of the game. I have confidence that I know that when I came out of the chute, I'm going to die. I have confidence that's going to happen. I don't know when. I don't know how it's going to happen. My point is that on the journey to get there, how do I maintain the integrity of my dash? That's the line between those 2 years, those 2 dates. What is that about, and how do I live it? Because highly unlikely people are going to remember the exact date that I was born, but they sure as heck, someone might very well remember the meaning, the feeling that they had when I left the room or when I came into it. Did I leave it any better? Did I come in and make it better? Or did I contribute to the process of the experience and journey of life? I mean, it's not a woo-woo and then grandiose. That's the gist of it. I don't know a lot about a lot, but I know a little bit enough to say that I'm willing to learn. That's all I got. Thanks for me sharing.
Oh, you are welcome. And do you mind if I say, I think you know a lot more about a lot than you think.
Well,
just listening to you, like you're pretty spectacular as a human, and your point of view feels so credible to me.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm a work in progress.
Me too.
I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've learned from them, and I've come to learn that I'm learning, and I'm trying to practice this. That what you think of me is none of my business, because you're not going to be laying down with me at the night. You're not going to be holding my hand when I go in the front door of my home. And can I sit with me? Because for a long, long time, I couldn't sit with me because that silence was never quiet. And today I can sit with me saying, I'm okay today. Today's an okay day. That's enough. That's enough.
Nice. Well, thanks for being you and being able to share and joining us. I'm honored to call you my friend. Looking at the chat, Chris, thank you for your feedback on LinkedIn. I want to read Neil McDonald's comment on LinkedIn, and then we can talk about it. And Neil, thank you. It says, live as if this is in response for me asking, fake it till you make it, right? And Chris had a great comment on being your most confident yet real self. Neil was, live as if you are already achieving the success you imagine you can achieve. Live as if you will deliver for your customers what you expect. He said it requires a base of a strong core competency. So I'm going to say I feel really comfortable about that. So it requires a base of a strong core competency. So if you're making a promise to a client, you live as if you're going to deliver on that promise with the values and competency you have. And I'm going to say, let me add to that, and not being afraid to ask for help, not being afraid to be vulnerable, not being afraid to bring in other people who could support you to deliver on the promises you made so you could stay in integrity to the promises you made to your clients. Jorge, have you processed that yet?
Yeah, that is. I just still more into the side, and then thinking that you make it is not a bad behavior if you try to do it in the right way, because it's how you build that confidence. You need to imposing yourself to move forward. The question is, you need to be forward, keeping your integrity. That means is you are trying to produce something that you are not necessarily sure that is going to be happening. And here is fail fast in the Silicon Valley. Say, okay, you need to try it. If you don't try it, you never know. But the question is, you need to try it in the good faith. The point is how you show up that good faith. That's one of the very difficult things, because sometimes you try to overdo something that you cannot allow, is not able to be done, and you are going to fail. The thing is, you need to have the humility to say, I fail, I learn about that, and you keep the integrity to recognize and acknowledge that you never was able to be done. But the question here is, when you try to do something that you know that is not achievable, and you say that is real, that is a problem. And in some sense, that is the kind of things that I try to see. Fake until you make it is a mindset that you need to build yourself to create positive ways. But the point is, when you, as my friends told me yesterday, say, hey, when you are in the line of really faking because you want to do it, or faking because you want to make something that is not true, and take advantage of that. And that is the bad part. And I agree your reaction, because if you have that kind of things, but the question is, can I ask you, you're faking to make it, or you are trying to make me take my trust and try to take advantage of me?
Yeah. You're very insightful. When you first started saying that and you were moving in the direction, I was thinking, wow, fake it till you make it with integrity. Maybe we add that, but I still don't like the word fake it.
I agree with you. Is faking sounds bad, but in some way is how you build something that do not exist, and you try to build in your mind, and you try to build a simulation, an idea or something that is in a given moment is going to happen as a real thing.
Yeah. Hey, April, if you want to speak, let us know and we'll promote you up to speaker. Thanks for joining us. Mark, what do you think? And then we'll go to David and see if Frank is after that. What do you think? I'm still struggling with this. Oh, Mark Jarrett, can you hear us? No. Okay. How about you, David?
What are you struggling with?
I'm still like coming up with a new phrase instead of fake it till you make it. We're still on. We're still, yeah. Jorge brought us back.
I think part of the problem is that first word, fake it. Faking is never a good thing, right?
Yeah.
I guess it goes back to what I was saying before. If you're not, like, you can't say you're a researcher unless you are a researcher. Because if you are a researcher, you've done research, right? You might want to be one, but if you haven't had the experience or taken coursework in it, or done some research, you can't really say you're a researcher. There's no way to fake that. I've done some research in school and through online courses, and Laura, who has a PhD, she's probably done quite a bit of research in that program. So, we can maybe say we're researchers, but someone who hasn't done research isn't really that. So it's not something you can fake, and there's a lot of job roles that are like that. You either are qualified for it or you're not qualified for it. Now, it is possible to be qualified for something and not bring that across in the interview, or somebody else, you got the same skills as somebody else, but they speak about it more clearly, more confidently. They might get the position. So it's one thing to express yourself well, which for me is a work in progress. And to speak well and to be someone who gets along with people. It's another thing to not really be good at that and try and come across as you are. I'm not sure if I'm making sense, even though I'm trying my best.
Oh no, you're doing great.
Oh, good. Because I find the longer I speak, sometimes the less sense I make. But so in other words, we have to be true to our not just to our personalities, but to our levels of skill, to our education, etc., etc.
I'm going to say yes. Yes.
If you've never studied something, never done something, you can't really say that you're an expert in that. There's no faking, there's no getting around it. What you can do is to take some extra coursework to get new skills. You could try and convince that you really want to learn, I don't know, data visualization, SQL, whatever it is. And if they see that you are really interested in something, really want to learn more about it, they may give you a shot. And then hopefully if they give you a shot, you'll be able to impress them enough that you can stay in the role and grow. And I think, Laura, where did she make a comment?
What's wrong with just sucking?
I said something. Sorry?
So what's wrong with just having the courage to be terrible at something until you figure it out?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Frank,
Take it.
nothing.
Just be real. Be true. Be honest about it. This is my challenge area. This is my growth area.
I don't think I want to be terrible. If I'm not good at something, I'll just not speak about it.
Well, I have to say I loved Dr. Laura said something in the chat on Clubhouse, and I put together two of your lines, and this might be the replacement for fake it till you make it. And so the attribution has to go to Dr. Laura. It's very simple. Be you, be real, be raw. Now, we might want to say with integrity or with credibility, if that's, I make that assumption, but maybe we could say with incredibly. Be with credibility. Be you, be real, be raw with credibility.
I think that is credible. I think that demonstrates that if we're real and true, that's credibility.
Yeah, I guess we don't have to say. Yeah, I guess we don't have to say with credibility.
Did you say be wrong, R-E-W, or be wrong?
Oh, thanks for asking. Raw. I have a hard time with R's for some reason my entire life.
Okay.
R-A-W.
All right.
Yeah, which by the way could be that where it's okay to be wrong if as long as we're being transparent. Like we don't know the answer. Let's figure it out.
This is the thing. I don't want to be right, or do I want to be happy? I want to be happy, and I don't want to just be right. I want to get it right. There's no glory in saying that. I mean, the whole part of the human experience is learning and growth. If I have nothing to learn, then what's the point? I mean, if I'm going to stay there, it's like Groundhog Day. I'm going to do the same thing over and over and learn the same. There's the thing that you have in your hand if you're on a phone is stronger than anything that we had possible in the 80s, the 90s. And so if we have a goal, if we're working towards something, there's still going to be innovation. No, I met that goal. Then it's a part of the human experience to want to succeed and to strive. Because if we meet that, okay, now it's done, it's over, I'm done. I don't know anybody's done that unless they just totally check out. And what's the likelihood that you meet nirvana, you reach nirvana and have that euphoric experience? Maybe you could approach it. I'm sure there are people who have. I don't know them. I don't want to stop growing. I want to keep moving and growing and being so full of me that I can't help but just nourish others from that overflow, or hopefully offer something of some integrity, and that is credible for sure. Then I have to be vulnerable. What's the problem with? I don't get the problem of saying, I don't know. There's vulnerability in that. Why? Because we assume weakness. But in order for us to meet a goal, we have to take a leap of faith. And that means that there's an unknowing. That means that we open ourselves up for the possibility of attack and injury and judgment and criticism. And to move into that and live in it for a moment or for the whole, all of our life right now, we're courageous because we just showed up. And we're breathing. That's vulnerability. We're all exposing ourselves right now in this room, speaking even, just showing up here at the possibility of injury and attack. And that criticism, that possibility, if it happens, is only a reflection of those who are doing it. And what it says more about, at least, and I'll finish with this, is that the fact that we're here showing up, that is courage. And that means you have to have that vulnerability in order to have courage, because courage is moving into the unknown. When there's fear, that's very different than bravery. So I'll stop with that. Thanks for letting me
share. You're melting my heart. That is so beautiful. I'm gonna put this out there. I'll do a chat sometime this week and talk a little bit more about it. But I loved what you said. I'm gonna see if we could start using the Laura Cobb phrase, be you, be real, be raw, instead of fake it till you make it.
Well, April also put some comments in the chat that I really like it and say is act as if you instead of fake it into you. And that's another approach. Then it's not, it's quite, you act in the good faith and believing that you are going to achieve it. And that is acting if you make it that possible. Act if you want to achieve that. Act if you make it that. And it's in some way, it's a little bit of disclosure that you are trying to do it instead of just showing off as if you are doing that. And that is a very interesting. It's a combination from the Laura point of view, and the April could be a fantastic way to do it in a different way.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So how would you say it again? How would you say it?
Act if you can do it. Act if you make it. Act if you are doing that. And that is act if you are doing being real, being raw, being you.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. I like
I
it.
disagree.
Oh, what was that? Sorry.
I disagree. Respectfully, I disagree.
Really?
Why
Oh,
would I
cool. Please
Why would
do.
I want to act as if I know something? That's pretend. That's so faking it. I can show
Oh,
up and say, you know what? I'm gonna do it anyway. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'm asking you for help. Let's work together, possibly. And if I don't know, I'll figure it out. For me, I don't want to work in a
yeah.
collaborative effort. That's okay. I'll just show up until I get it right. Because I don't want to be right. I want to get it right. And if I fail and I stumble, it's like Rocky. You know, when a toddler's trying to walk, we give him a finger or a table to prop himself up on, fall on their butt. What's the matter with you? I can't believe we don't do that. We can encourage them and say, you got this. Come on, I can do it. And then why don't we do that with adults? Why don't we show up, all of us? We came in this world not knowing anything except to breathe, to eat, to sleep, to poop. That's it. So what's the problem? I don't understand. I mean, I completely respect and I honor and I hear and I really do. It does resonate with me for sure. There's such fear in leaning into that vulnerability and saying, I don't know. I really don't. Please help me.
Oh,
And I don't
so
mean
much.
just falling and just falling out. It just means to say, hey, I need some help here.
To be fair, most people drastically overestimate their skill level, before they fall flat on their face, which is, most times it's not out of malice or it's just out of ignorance. And, it's up to all of us to be humbled upon the altar of idiocy for which wisdom is granted.
Say that again.
Oh, Frank, say that again. Laura didn't catch it all. Oh, we might have lost it.
I think it was a scripture, or I think it was a well-known statement.
Yeah, sorry. I said it comes to all of us to be humbled upon the altar of idiocy for which wisdom is granted. Like most of the time it's not malice, it's just ignorance. We go into a situation full of confidence, thinking we're going to pull this off, and then proceed to land flat on our face, and we do that often. It's the learning process. So we go in there full of piss and vinegar, thinking we're going to nail it, but so I think that I agree with them.
There's ignorance by definition means unknowing. I'm not stupid. I'm just ignorant on a lot of stuff. I just don't know. And so when I learn, I'm not ignorant no more. And I can't even speak. When I learn, I am no longer ignorant. I may be stupid, meaning that I know better, and make poor choices. So I don't understand. Maybe it's just me and it's all semantics. No, it's not just me. I thought it was me, but it's not. Renee, that I'm okay with me today with not knowing, because then there's the curiosity going, oh, what if? And that childlike awe and wonder going, what if this, and the possibility, and to say, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I can't wait to learn. And then when it happens, what? And to allow that for others as well. I don't even know. I'll stop. Thanks so much.
Well, you know what I love here is I hear somebody say something and then I agree with it. And then I hear another point of view. I'm like, yeah, it's nice to hear different people's perception of words, because as much as we think, in this case, we're all speaking English, as much as we think we have a common language, we're not interpreting the words in a common way. And so I'm going to change it slightly to something that was in chat, which April said, which I found it very fascinating. Faith it till you make it versus fake it till you make it. But once again, what I'm going to say is so many people have a different definition of the word faith, right? Where I love that. I love that thought process. Laura, I'm just going to reiterate that your raw feelings and emotion, because you wear your stuff out loud, you're a phenomenal sounding board. And I do agree that because you're actually speaking your truth out loud, and so many people don't. And so Chris said something. And I don't want you to interpret it this way. He says, I don't want a brain surgeon to say, I don't know, but I think I can. Let me finish that sentence. All right, Chris. So imagine if a doctor just came out of med school, they did their residency, they've done some surgery, and they have book smarts of how they can, let's say, do brain surgery on you. Would you rather have that person do brain surgery on you versus the person who has done it 30,000 times? They may not have gone to school for a while, but they've done it 30,000 times. And they say, for 80% of the time that I've been doing this, it turns out that there's nothing that can happen. I can't support you. But there is a 20% chance, and I've seen this enough, and I'm going to do my best. So would you rather have that person, he's done it they've done it 30,000 times, and they have the PhD in the School of Hard Knocks, versus the fresh young whippersnapper who has all the book knowledge and maybe a little bit of practice? And I'm going to say, let's go for the PhD in the School of Hard Knocks. I would still want the brain surgeon not to tell me. I want the truth for myself and the family members. I want the truth. Right?
They wouldn't be in that job. There's no way they can maintain that position. First of all, if they didn't know, I think I understand the example. If they were if they didn't know what, they'd have to be board certified and pass the interns and stuff. I mean, there's certain levels, and I understand that. I would rather, this is what the thing about the military, I think this might be, for me, I can understand this better. It kills me. It used to kill me, or I used to be quite disgruntled when I would see a 30-year, almost retired, enlisted soldier, an E9 or an E9, and he or she'd have to salute an O2, an O1, I'm sorry, a second lieutenant who just came out basic training, not basic, just came out of ROTC, and they'd be like 22 years old, and this person would be 50 years old. With all that experience, you kidding me? Please do not mistake me. I put a lot of work in school. That doesn't mean I know anything. There's a difference between a school, which is a building, education, which is what is taught there based on who has the power and control to determine and dictate what's taught there. Who has the most power. And then there's knowledge is what I learned from that. And then there's wisdom, which is integrating what works for me based on my life experience. I'd rather have someone like Einstein with very little education who's quite wise than someone who sat their butt in 12 years in college, listen to some people talk and write some papers and earn a degree because of that. Doesn't mean I know a lot. It means I listened a lot and did what I was told to do. I'm downplaying it a little bit. I work my butt off. But at the same time, what would I rather have? The wisdom in this room rather than having this openness, this open dialogue and willingness to learn than someone coming down to me saying, you need to know this and this is how it is. I'd rather have this any day.
I'm shaking my head, yes. That's interesting. Huh. Well, I think it feels like it's a good time to wrap up. So for those who are here, I'd love to hear your feedback. Thanks for an amazingly engaging conversation. Frank, I think you were one of the last to speak, so maybe you could be one of the first to wrap up. What do you think, Frank Pepper?
Sure. I'm probably trying to get my sound figured out, but this one has been interesting because it's interesting seeing people's perspective on almost what's important, what their how they approach the world. It's coming from who I am. The idea of faith, it doesn't mean that it doesn't even, I don't understand it. So it's interesting to see the different perspectives on it. It's enlightening.
Well, thank you. Thanks for contributing today. How about you, David? David Mills.
I think I've said, yeah, I'm here.
How would you like to wrap up?
Boy, interesting topic. I think I've said what I wanted to say.
Okay.
It's a very interesting topic, and I think we've covered it from many angles.
I kind of think so too. That's why I was thinking it was time. Thanks for your contributions today. I appreciate you. Hey, Jorge, how'd you like to wrap up? Thanks so much again for being on this ride with me.
Oh, that was a fantastic conversation, and I love the way that how the combination of different points of view, and I love the Laura, how to bring him back into how to go from back and forth, center the conversation again, and put that in the right track. I love it and thank you for that. That situation, something too much to learn from you, Laura. Thank you, and to April also for their contributions. I really love it, and was a great way of how something that we need to think in how have the faith to be doing that, and how we need to be with the three phrases and was put that by Laura. Something that really to keep in mind all the times. We are able to achieve whatever we want, but we need to be honest and truthful. Thank you very much.
And Jorge, thank you so much for giving me the inspiration and motivation to come on Clubhouse and even start this thing in the first place. So I'm honored to have you as in the journey with me.
Great to be part of that.
Yeah. Now, Dr. Laura, there's a good reason why you have 10,000 followers, because you're good at what you do.
Well, yeah, I want to thank for David, one of my dearest friends and my oldest friends, the oldest friend I have here in Clubhouse, and Mr. one of my newest ones, is that, you know what, I just say the stuff, I don't believe, I just think I say the stuff that people are afraid to say, because, and I'm not, well, I shouldn't say I'm not afraid. I am afraid, I don't care anyway, I just do it anyway. I have fear, I do it anyway. And you know what happens? Darn, when she's saying the stuff I want to say, I'm going to follow her because I'm afraid to say it. And then they start to say it. And they realize that they're not alone. And, you know, I just love, Mitchell, and you're the catalyst for this, the ability, creating the environment and the context for us to actually have these conversations, and the ability for folks who are able to maintain it, hold, engage, or even consider, and then possibly engage in and maintain and then sustain the, I don't want to say the intellect, it's work. It's hard work to stay at this level of this level of comprehension and the possibilities of, because all of this is right now what I said before, the possibilities of what if, the curiosity, leaning into that. It's so easy to tap out, so easy. And then to also not just stay in it, and to consider alternative perspectives without getting all egomaniacal, for lack of a better word. So I'm grateful for you, Mitchell and David and everyone who came before, just for the opportunity to have a conversation and to listen.
I'm excited. Oh, by the way, Dr. Laura, I'm going to ask you publicly just to think about, I will be in 100 coaches meeting in Nashville on the 30th. So 2 weeks from today. And so we could talk privately, but if you'd want to run the group, I would love to have you. So something to think about. I'm going to wrap up the, this was juicy. I would say.
I love these gifts. I swear. I love the conversation for sure.
Yeah. This was powerful. Now, people, for me, this is normal to be in a conversation where you can have a real conversation, even if you have people who disagree with each other, right? Because if you still have love and interest and caring, the only thing what makes this safe is hate doesn't belong in this room, in anything that we do, at least anything that I do. And so I'd love to have you guys play around, be part of this conversation or Credibility Nation in our Credibility Nation site, or feel free at any point in time. I do podcast, Leaders Living Their Values. I'm going to put out the question again, or the request. If you have a particular credibility question you want answered, do a quick video recording of yourself and send it to me, and we will put that on the YouTube channel. And that is dear Dr. Laura, I love you too. That is the Dear Credibility Nation, or Dear Credibility Expert, that I'm answering. And we've got, I think there's 51. I think I've actually shot episode 58 yesterday, but I think on the channel, we just released episode 52. But anyhow, I'm happy to answer those questions. And I'd say probably bigger picture, if you live in a world where you have leaders that are not living their values, recommend them to me. I'm happy to have a quick conversation to see if there's a good fit from an executive coaching perspective. I'm happy to see if there are resources they could use to become better at who they are as a leader. And I'm going to say we are all leaders, even if we're just leading ourselves in lives and leading those around with us. We are leaders. And so take control, be yourself, be raw, be real, be humble. And I love you very much. You guys have a great rest of day, week. And for those who we'll see next week, first I'll stop the broadcast on social. And goodbye, everybody, as always.